Hello there, and greetings on this Thursday, the 7th of May 2020, supermoon in Scorpio. And I happen to be sitting on a bench overlooking a place called Henley-on-Thames. It's very beautiful here. There's a woodland behind me. There's lots of pheasants, so I feel a bit jumpy because all of a sudden they just go blah, and they make their crazy noise and they jump out. There's a fair amount of bluebells here and other plants and woodland nymphs and fairies possibly as well. But today, again, being that it's an astrological moment in time, with all the kind of, strong alignments we have going on, and the super moon as well, illuminating and highlighting all of that. The Scorpio intensity is really drawing out the feminine aspect of our emotional self, our feelings, about all of these different aspects that are happening in astrology right now, which is what I wanted to discuss. If we can backtrack a little bit and go back to 2010, when actually on the winter solstice, when we had the sun going into Capricorn on December 20th and the full moon was in Cancer, that is when Pluto went into Capricorn. So it's 9.5 years almost, I suppose. We're in the 10th year, but it will have to wait until the winter solstice again. I believe that it's a very important point to look at, to see that at this point in time really is quite a potent time where we embarked onto a journey that I think a lot of people didn't quite understand or completely see what exactly that would entail. And it was like planting the seed. And if that seed takes quite a long time to really surface and start growing the seedling, like the tree, like an acorn, and then eventually you see a 10-year-old oak tree. So this is what I think is culminating from what's happening now. We can see that Pluto in Capricorn is really, I feel, the antithesis, if you like, or the pinnacle as well of the turning point, but it is the center and the core of everything that has really started brewing. For me, when I look at astrology these days, I'm just focusing on Pluto straight away. Where's Pluto? What's Pluto doing? How is it affecting this planet, that planet? I check all the aspects, and I see that for me it's a focal point. And the reason I feel so strongly about this is I've had quite a few different astrology teachers. Nobody really famous that anyone knows, I'm sure, but my teacher told me that even though this is a small, it's seemingly insignificant planet that's quite far away from us, and it's not even meant to be a planet anymore, it's been downgraded, it actually has 100% influence over us as a transpersonal planet. And I've probably said this before, so I'm not repeating myself, but I would like to say that the transpersonal effect that 100% effect would have on humanity and global affairs and our personalities is something unavoidable, and also uncontrollable. So Pluto being in Capricorn, literally like uprooting structures, if you like, reshuffling things that have been in place for so long, the patriarchy, Capricorn, is being completely shaken apart. It's being shattered. Pluto, being ruler of Scorpio, wants to shatter it. This supermoon is highlighting all of that and inviting all of us to go into the depths of ourselves, to find our own truth, to find what is it we truly believe in. Without listening to conspiracy theories, there's so much other influences going on, but what do we feel deep within ourselves? What truth are we going to reveal to ourselves about what we are, what we want for our world, without having to feel controlled, without having to feel like, yes, the governments are there, politics exists, business, infrastructure, but if we could ignore all that and we could delve into ourselves, could we find what is it we truly want? It's a bit like saying, if you could manifest anything in the world and you could dream your dream, What would you want? You know, it's a bit like a game. Children play it. What do you want in life? What do you want to be when you grow up? Well, this is that time. This is the time for doing that play, you know, having that playtime with yourself and really going into yourself and thinking, withdrawing within, focusing on the deep emotion of yourself and really know what gives you fulfillment. What fulfillment do you want? And, you know, I'm talking like this because of basing everything I've looked at and analysed on the charts. Talking about actual astrology and where placements are may go over some people's heads. So this is my interpretation of the whole of what's going on. We have an in conjunction of Pluto in Capricorn to Mercury in Taurus right now. The sun is in Taurus as well. So the sun is literally like beaming that light onto Mercury in Taurus. And what's the message that Mercury is speaking right now? You know, in Taurus, it's talking about, look at the planet, look at what the Earth is doing. What can we do to help the Earth? And with that in conjunction, even though rarely I hear astrologers actually talking about in conjunctions are very apt, you know, they're very appropriate to look at. We have conjunctions, sextiles, squares, but this in conjunction I feel is quite subtle, and I think that I look for the subtlety now. I used to always look for the overtly like staring me in the face stuff when I first started doing astrology about 20 years ago. And now I look for the very subtle underlying, maybe it's the more yin energy of what's really happening. And I think that there's a very quiet whisper happening from that Taurus and Mercury, which of course is going to speed right through Taurus and go into Gemini soon. So Taurus's message is, you know, in the whole nurturing there, I'm going to nurture this planet. I'm going to nurture myself. How do I do that? What messages and signals and, you know, starting a rebellion do I need to do? Do I need to pass on that message to Saturn that's gone into Aquarius to do something about this? The people need to change. The people need to change what's happening, and they are my vehicle of expression. You know, and what a convenient placement for Saturn to be in Aquarius right now, even though unfortunately that's going to go retrograde for some time, but not for too long, back into Capricorn, and it will come merging back out again, you know, after the autumn. So I think that, you know, when we see different aspects happening like that, we have to just take into account what's going to happen. I think that Gaia has the strong message, if you like, the planet, to give to the people, and that is really about, you know, maintain your self-sufficiency, be aware of what your health is doing, be aware of your physicality, be aware of where you want to go in life. What is it your next step is? You know, think about your own personal security. Pluto is going retrograde at the moment in Capricorn, which I think, for me, it suggests, you know, my interpretation of this, it suggests that it's going just even more deeper. It's saying, okay, let's pause for a minute. You know, you guys aren't listening to me. I'm going to just stop, backtrack a bit, make, you know, the time slow down a little bit more, and, you know, we feel like we're in sludge and that our boots can't get out of this mud. You know, we're trying to walk and we literally can't. It's a bit like that, you know, like it's not like quicksand, it's like the opposite, or it could be like quicksand where you just go sinking under and you can't get out. Retrograde Pluto Capricorn reminds me of that, where we want to move on and we want to progress, and somehow we just really feel like we can't, because the institutions and the structures that are still there that are, you know, trying to dominate us with their patriarchal powerfulness, you know, male energy, and you think, I can't cope with this. And there's this very feminine Taurus, you know, Mercury and the Sun and Uranus, although Uranus is quite at the beginning and the Sun and Mercury are kind of closer together at the end of Taurus, is really just saying, look, I just want this change, I want it now, let's do this now, let's sort it out, you know. But then, you know, it doesn't always like change either. It's got a soft approach. I think that people have seen the bull as this raging force. It's actually quite the opposite. You know, Taurus wants to nurture, loves beautiful things, loves harmony, is ruled by Venus. So I think when we see Mercury moving through into Gemini, Gemini will go retrograde as well in Mercury, you know, so but the message will be there, and it's going to be carried through when it goes into Gemini of, look, this is the new world. Tell people about the new world. Gemini is about spreading information, and even though it goes retrograde again, I think it's more of a, how is there a new way of telling people this information? Do we have to do it through the internet? Do we have to do it through telepathy? How do we do it? How do we teach? How do we become the student and learn? And so I feel that is a whole message in there. Obviously we got the Uranus and Taurus doing its work, and it will continue to for at least 6.5 years. And the other aspect I wanted to bring into quickly before going on and on for such a long report really is the nodal axis, the north node of the moon. So the north node and the south nodes are actually shifting now and coming into Gemini. And the nodes always go backwards, just like the ages. So it looks like they go retrograde, but effectively they can, but they always move in a counter clockwise direction. So it was in Cancer and Capricorn, and now it's moving Gemini to Sagittarius. And I think that if anyone has their with the access points, which is the ascendant to the descendant, or the midheaven to your ilium coli, that's basically those two lines, the crosses that go through your chart. If you have any either of those, that is, going from Gemini, Saggy, or Saggy to the other way, Gemini, like I do. I have my midheaven in Sagittarius, and my ilium coli is down in the bottom of my chart is in Gemini. So currently the North Node is coming into Gemini. So Gemini North Node being for me in my house, the third house of communication, and also what is known to me as relationships. The North Node being there is actually in some ways very comfortable for me. It's a place that I will trust and be able to learn from others and study and also become the teacher, so it's about me being the student and the teacher. But also the South Node being in Sagittarius is take what I already know, in some ways, because midheaven represents how we study, how we work, what our careers are, what our ambitions are. And so my relationship with that, with my career, and taking that relationship that I already have and understand and applying it. Now this is going to carry on for 18 months. That applies to me personally. If you can look in your own chart and see, do you have an axis that runs Sagittarius, Gemini, or the other way around, with your ascendant and your midheaven, you can actually look at see how this will affect you. And there is quite a few ways of finding out. Online, if you just look up the North Node of the Moon, and it will come up with the South Node and the North Node interpretations. Another aspect I think to always consider when you're looking at astrology, which is a very personal thing again, if you know your birth time and you can check your ascendant and you know it, it's always very valuable to know what's happening on your ascendant, if there's any transits happening there, or even a North Node coming across, or any fixed stars and things like that. I don't personally know enough about fixed stars, and I feel like, even though we've all been learning a lot throughout our years, the astrologers, there's so much more to learn, and mythology connected to astrology, and all the orally astrology, the old astrology. There's so much different. It's vast, so what I find really helpful as well in understanding myself, actually on a daily basis, I have a Pisces ascendant, so being so mutable and changeable, it's quite useful for me. Every single hour of our day is actually ruled, if you like, by an ascending zodiac sign. So you can look this up online as well, where you can find out what the ascendant is for that particular time of day. And with the fact that we have the North Node in Gemini and Sagittarius, it would be good to know which points of the day that this is going to affect you according to your ascendant. So if you know that your ascendant is in Gemini, for example, and that the North Node is going to it's going to transit your ascendant, if you like, when Gemini is actually ascending on a particular hour of the day, then this will be incredibly useful. for you to know, because it would be useful for you to understand how, you know, you can schedule meetings or dates with people, you know, because Gemini is about communication. And I think that going forward, if we actually did this, then we'd be able to sort of plan out our most effective timepiece, if you like, you know, or period of time where we can actually communicate in a better way with each other and be more productive. And I think that would apply for the Sagittarius South Node as well, if we know where Sagittarius is coming in to our chart every day. So if you're a bit confused about what I mean, not that I should be advertising anything, because I'm not about actually not even getting paid to do any of these videos, but there is something I use. It's a free service online, and it's called Astrolabe, Labe, which is actually a device that used to be used to look at the stars. This online web page basically means that you can look up any chart that you want, so over and over again. So you can look up today, which is what I did, and you saw that at the beginning. That's that today, at this very moment, it was at 6 o'clock in the evening on the 7th of May 2020, we have ascending Libra, and we had the moon in Scorpio at 21 degrees. That's in the second house. And then you can see how all the other planets are sitting on all the other houses. So that's basically what happens. It's like a clock, you know. The zodiac and astrology is always moving. It's constantly moving, constantly changing. And that's why there can be so many astrology reports about all of this. I haven't talked too much about what Jupiter and you know, the Uranus thing is doing. I mean, Uranus we know is in Taurus, Jupiter's in Capricorn, Neptune's in Pisces. I feel like these are very, very big subjects if I wanted to talk about each individual thing and how it's affecting, how they're affecting each other. For sure, these very major planets are having a deep effect on everybody, and how they are influencing what's presently happening in the whole of the cosmos, if you like, in the whole of the universe right now. Every aspect and every part of that is making what is happening now, is creating the world that we see. But on a positive note, I really do feel that at this beautiful time, it's really a time to, like I say, just go deep within, meditate with the self, really just soak it all up, ask and manifest what you really desire and what you really want, and really becoming attuned to that, really knowing what is it I truly desire in my world, in my life, and how can I just get that? How can I obtain it? You obtain it through your desire of that feeling, through the heart. I believe so strongly that, you know, you put out that chemical reaction, and we're having that magnetism right now with Jupiter and Capricorn. Especially that magnetism is just spiraling out. As somebody else had said, I don't want to use this word sadly, it's like electrical charge. It is an electrical charge that's in, and also Uranus and Taurus. You know, the whole way that we can change it is by manifesting in ourselves our true desires, our feelings to want a better world. And it is that easy. As soon as we can put out those vibrations, and energy and fields work, you know, the heart-mind coherence, we have an effect on other human beings when we get close to them. We have an effect on nature and animals and everything around us, because we're living in a harmonious, energetic world. So as soon as you transmit those messages through a telepathic or a physical or an emotional way of communicating it, you are sending out that desire. You are literally sending out, if you like, a little telegraph to the universe. And I believe that that's certainly a way. I mean, this is, you know, this is the if you can see, the epitome of Neptune and Pisces. And my Neptune, or my ascendant, is feeling, you know, that Neptune's sort of hovering around it, because, you know, I believe that we can get into that lucid dream state and that trance state where we have such deeper peace within ourselves when we meditate and we come into a calm space, just in between that state where we're sleeping and awake, and we have that theta state in our mind, and we just generate that strong desire of those feelings we want, and we're putting those wheels in motion. Then we're making those waves, we're creating the things that we want, because we know that we can have them. And as soon as that we know that we can have them, then we will receive them, because you're making it that way. And that's pretty much all I've got to say. I feel like I look a little bit like Mother Mary or Teresa or something, but I'm not trying to. It's very sunny, and I'm trying to keep the sun off me, off my face a little bit. You know, getting older, you don't want to have too many UV rays. I hope you found that illuminating or interesting. It feels quite deep. The intensity is there. Soak up the super moon. Enjoy, peoples. Bye.